Well, it's a very good evening from me, Paul Archer. I hope everybody's well. Thank you for joining me live tonight, just for half an hour or so, maybe 40 minutes, see how things pan out. All about your career as a mortgage advisor. The mortgage world isn't in the best place at the moment, but of course, things will get better. It always does. So, tonight, then, or this evening, depends on what time you're listening to this one, your opportunity, if you're coming on live, is to ask questions. We're talking about qualifications, skills, CAS, CPD, that kind of stuff this evening. And I've got loads of questions which people have asked me beforehand, which I'm going to answer. But if you're coming on live, and there's a few of you already coming on live, just tap in your questions and I'll be able to answer those for you. So without any further ado, let's head over to some slides, shall we? And get ourselves comfortable with those. And I'm going to pop on in and say hello to you because I can and I'd want to too. So let me just pop on in and go through some of these key questions. Now, today, of course, the subject is quite clear. It's about how to succeed as a mortgage advisor. Qualifications, skills, CAS and CPD is where we're going. As I said before, anyone online, just tap in some extra questions and I'll answer those at the end. So let's get on to our first question then for you, straight into it. So this question came in: what qualifications do I need to become a mortgage advisor? Well, there's a few qualifications that you need to become a mortgage advisor, and the biggest, most effective branded one is CMAP, of course, offered by the LIBF. CMAP exam 1, 2, and 3 gives you an entry level towards becoming a mortgage advisor, but that's only the first start. You can do the CII's qualification, the CF1 and the CF6. They have numbers for theirs. It's just the way it was. The same syllabus, same complexity, all level 3 exams. So you can do either one and they both work. Now, once you've got yourself qualified, there's other exams you can do. In the mortgage world, there's the advanced mortgage paper you can do, or there's the new specialised one, which looks at specialist finance. So that's the entry level qualifications that you need to become a mortgage advisor. That's question number 1, isn't it? Hey, we're doing all right, aren't we? So let's get on to the next question then. How do I obtain my mortgage qualifications? Well, that's up to you how you do that. That's what we do here at Arch Training. We've been teaching mortgage qualifications, CMAP predominantly, for 25 years now. Has time flown when you're having fun? We do ours online. We have boot camps, we have audios, videos, very much multimedia, and we do it via that method. Now, you can just buy a book from the LIBF and you can just read the book and take an exam if you want to. And there are still some people who do classroom courses as well. So you can rock up for a week and have some dude teach you the topic from a desk at the front if you want to go that route. Our boot camp is all interactive. It's all on demand. So that's how you obtain your mortgage qualifications. If you want to spend a bit of extra money getting some training, you can do. So it's entirely up to you how you operate. Some employers, if you're lucky enough to join an employer, might actually train you. You might want to think about an apprenticeship as a mortgage advisor. Your employer may have an apprenticeship scheme for a couple of years where they'll take you through the training and they'll sponsor you to do the exams as well. So I think that's a great thing if you can get your employer to pay for it. But employers are buttoned down the hatches at the moment with this recession coming in, so you may not find the ability to do that. Okay, on to the next question then. How long will it take me to become mortgage qualified? Well, that's up to you, of course. However long is your timetable? Because you may not be working, for example, and then you can probably get the exams done in 3 to 4 weeks. If you are working full time to earn a living, and who isn't, let's be honest, or you've got other pressures like family and children to look after and houses, all sorts of things, then you may want to do it part time. Now, our boot camp allows you to study an hour a day. Is ideal. And if you can do an hour a day, then you can probably have the exams done within about 4 months. So that's working full time, coming home, doing all your stuff, and then maybe doing an hour a day or maybe a couple of hours at weekends or something like that. You can get it done in 4 months' time. But if you've got plenty of time, you can go a lot quicker than that. Some people take longer, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. It's perfectly acceptable to do that. In fact, a lot of people are thinking that the mortgage market's a little bit slow at the moment, and it is. Let's not beat about the bush, it is. But it will get busier next year as markets improve, etc. So get the qualifications out of the way now, and then investigate opportunities of employment at that point. So that's a few ideas there for you. Next question: how do I become qualified to start trading as a mortgage advisor? Well, the point here is you can't just take an exam and pass it and get a certificate put out on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm qualified, come here, customers, I want to talk to you about mortgages. It don't work that way. You have to, because it's highly regulated, of course, you have to get yourself CAS, as we call it. We'll talk about that in a second. But you have to basically join a company, either as an employee or self-employed, join a firm, and they have to take you to the next stage. So get the exams out of the way. They then take you to the next stage, which is obtaining your competent advisor status. And once you get that, then you can start trading as a mortgage advisor. So it's pretty simple, really, isn't it, when you look at it like that? But it's not. So what is CAS then? Well, CAS stands for Competent Advisor Status, and it's a training and competence thing. It's a regulatory requirement that anybody who wants to become a mortgage advisor has to obtain this CAS. Now, CAS is not a test like a driving test or something. You pass it and that's it. CAS is something you do with the company that you become involved in. You choose the company that you want to become involved in. That company can be an employed firm as an employee, or you could be self-employed or something like that. So we're going on to the next question to answer that question for you, really. What's the best means of getting my CAS? A lot of people ask me this question because it's very, very topical. Now, there's several ways in which you can get yourself CAS, but the first thing you've got to do is jump on the back of somebody that's already authorized. And that's particularly important. Now, as you know, of course, this is a highly regulated environment we work in. So let me just pop over to show you on a whiteboard. Let me show you over here on this whiteboard so you can see it clearly. You have the FCA, of course, who are the Financial Conduct Authority, who authorize and regulate the majority of mortgage firms. Now, you will have a firm, therefore, and they call them firms, it's companies, who are authorized and regulated by the FCA to carry out business. Now, you personally have to become part of that firm. Now, you can join that firm as an employee in the old-fashioned way. So that firm might be a bank, for example. You can join them as an employee, and then you can get your CAS through them. And they will have managers, coaches who can teach you how to work. They can show you how the mortgage works, the software, the fact find process, the sales process, how to get clients, how the operation works, any IT that you need to use, etc., artificial intelligence, all those things, sourcing software. They teach you all those things and show you how to do the job. And once you've achieved that, you then get your CAS from that particular company. So, of course, you're well happy with that. Now, there aren't that many employed positions, if truth be told. The banks, the big building societies, the banks, the directs, they've kind of cut their sales forces over the last 2-3 years, and they sell their mortgages via intermediaries. But you might find a smaller brokerage firm who are already established and got directly authorized with the FCA. You might find they're already trading and they're taking on employees, maybe trainees, might be in an admin position to start with. You might find those as well. And the second way that you can get your CAS is to join another firm. So it's the same situation. That firm is regulated by the FCA, but this firm is not actually trading. They're not selling mortgages, or they don't have people work for them who sell mortgages. This is known as a network. Now, a network is an authorized firm. It's got all the coaches and managers and compliance people and all that stuff. Of course, they haven't got any employed people that sell mortgages. So what you need to do there is join them as an AR, as we call it, an appointed representative. So effectively, you're self-employed, you see. That's the whole point. You're self-employed. As an AR, an appointed representative of the firm who has authorization. So that's where most advisors have tended to have drifted towards in the last few years. It does give you some flexibility. Self-employment, though, may not be your cup of tea. I get that entirely. And therefore, an employed position might be a better option of going for that. Now, it's the same concept. You get your CAS through the network. They have coaches and managers and people like that will give you CAS. They'll charge you for it. There'll be fees involved. There'll be costs. Whereas here you're an employee, you see, so you get paid a salary, don't you? And part of the deal is you get trained. That's the whole point. But here you're not. You're self-employed, so you have to pay them money and fees, etc., to get CAS. So be careful where you go. Do your due diligence. You know, it's regulated, yes, but the FCA don't lay down details about fees and costs and charges. Consumer Duty is changing things, but that's for consumers, not for you guys. So be careful who you choose, and talk to me at some point if you want to about that. So that's a good option there, isn't it, for you? Okay, let's head back over to the question then. What's the best means then of getting your CAS, your competent advisor status? Hope that's answered that question. Okay, on to the next question then. How do I keep up to date with changes in the marketplace? So I've got myself CAS'd up. It's taken me a while. I've got my CMAP examinations. So how then do I keep myself up to date? Now, legally, there's no CPD or continued professional development requirements for mortgage advisors. Why? I've got no idea. But for financial advisors, there's a set number of hours. For insurance advisors, there's also a set number of hours. So legally then, you don't have to do CPD, but the best mortgage advisors do. And you can get yourself or keep yourself up to date with changes by joining forums, going on online courses. You can attend webinars and online sessions run by lenders. You can go to away days. You can rock up at these hotels, which lenders tend to all operate from, and they pay for that. They give you lunch and all that lot. And then you have to listen to their BDMs talking all afternoon with their PowerPoints behind their pedestals and podiums. Good BDMs are worth their value, of course they are, and the good ones educate and keep you informed of what's going on. But of course, their ulterior motive is they want you to sell their lending. You see, BDMs, of course they do. So they'll often just give you product specifications and criteria rather than teaching you more about the job and how it works. So you may want to be able to get your own training and education. Of course, there's more exams you can take. Come on to that in a second. You can do your own reading. I would subscribe to all the various periodicals if I was you. You know, your mortgage strategy, your mortgage reporter, they all do online free stuff. They send you information about what's going on in the market. You want to be picking up some good periodicals. Websites do that for you as well, of course. Careful with that now. ChatGPT is changing everything. All the decent journalists now are hiding behind paywalls, because they're fed up, you see, of publishing their stuff for free, ChatGPT harvesting it and giving it out to everybody who asks for it. So you'll find that good journalism from the newspapers like Guardian, Times, Telegraph is hidden behind paywalls now, so you have to pay for it. Economist, you may want to subscribe to. Money Week, you'll probably want to subscribe to. So there's no harm in using some of your budget to pay for these things that keep you up to date. Now, we've got our own CPD program, because remember, our job is to help as many people to become mortgage advisors and develop their skills. So we've got our own CPD package. It's free. We do podcasts and videos. I present every Monday for half an hour on the latest things that have happened to the marketplace, out on a podcast as well. And we have an email system on a Monday night where we send people articles that have changed. And people often buy our revision guides and things each year just to keep up to date. So I think it's important that if you are in the business of selling your brain, which you are, of course, then you keep that brain up to date. It goes without saying, really, doesn't it? If you're selling your brain, keep it up to date. So keep it sharp is the key behind that question. How do you keep up with changes? Nice one. Okay, next question. What CPD requirements will I have? Well, we mentioned about CPD. If you're getting involved in insurance sales, you've got 15 hours minimum, but that's pretty much the most that you'll be asked to do legally. But your network or your principal that you join, of course, are responsible for everything you do. Back over here, when we talked about this scenario here, it's these firms you see that are authorized, and you're connected to those firms. So they're responsible for absolutely everything you do. So they're laying down the rules. And if they tell you to do 50 hours of CPD, then you do it. That's the whole point behind it. And of course, they often will provide additional training and education, and they'll organize lender days and provider days and online or on site or whatever. So they'll look after you. Again, it's a good reason to choose wisely where you decide to go to. And we'll come on to that more a little bit later on for you. Okay, so that's CPD requirements. We've answered that one quite a lot. How do I learn about lenders' products? Well, this is where technology starts to come into its own, really. This is where artificial intelligence is really making inroads into the sector. Now, you'll want to be probably a whole of market broker, which means that you have access to all of the lenders on the marketplace, so that when you meet a client, you can advise the most appropriate lender from the entire marketplace. That would be a jolly good proposition to have. Now, that, of course, has its own problems because you can't remember what every lender's criteria is. You'll get to know after a few years of working what lenders do what. You'll get relationships organized with BDMs, the business development managers who work for the lenders, and they'll keep you posted on things via the internet maybe. But this is where sourcing engines are getting quite clever. A sourcing engine, by the way, is a piece of software that searches the lender criteria for the right lender for you. Just key in the client requirements and it tells you what lender's appropriate. Now, it used to be quite clunky. They were very feature-led. Now they're getting quite clever. They're using artificial intelligence now, and a good sourcing software from various companies offer them can give you complete computerization from start to finish. Your network or your principal firm may well provide that for you. Most do as part of the deal because it's all computerized now. And artificial intelligence is now coming into these systems. They started, and you're finding that they're able to talk to lender computers direct, get all the information they need from the lenders, and then give it to you in the form of summaries. You key in the client details, the mortgage application goes straight off to the right lender, so you don't have to re-key everything all the time. It's beginning to happen. So that's pretty much how you learn about lenders' products. You may go along to these monthly meetings with lenders, road shows, they call them all sorts of different things now, where the BDMs will talk to you about their criteria. You probably have BDMs drop in and talk to you about their criteria. That's what they like to do. And they'll bring you donuts and Krispy Kremes or whatever is your poison in order to influence you to deal with them. So that's I would definitely lean on technology for that particular answer. That's a good question, that one, isn't it? Next question. What qualifications do I need further down the line? Well, that really depends on what you get up to, doesn't it? What qualifications are you wanting to do further down the line? Well, that depends what you want to do, where you want your career to go. For a mortgage advisor, you could possibly get the new specialist mortgage finance exam, which looks at bridging, second charge, development finance. CMAP hardly covers that, you see. So that's not a bad exam to take a look at. You might want to look at your advanced mortgage exam. The CI do an RO7, the LIBF do a good one called DIPMAP, Advanced Mortgage. They're good. You don't need them. The regulator doesn't require them. So that's probably the reason why not a lot of people take them. But other qualifications you might want to consider. You might want to move into equity release, for example. And that's what we call the later life lending market. And that requires a minimum examination called the ER1 or SARA from the LIBF. You might want to go into long-term care advising, and there's a long-term care exam that you'll be taking as well. You might want to move into becoming a financial advisor, and there's further examinations that you might want to consider there as well. The DIP-FA is a very good one from the LIBF. So there's plenty of exams you can think about taking if you want your business to segue off into different specialist areas. That's really the answer behind that one. So that's a good question. That one. Next question then. What skill sets do I need to develop to become a successful advisor? Now, this is where a lot of advisors tend to ignore. I don't know why. I don't get that. They have their natural skills, of course, but they don't develop them further. They provide exams on technical aspects or product features. They get well trained in that area because that's what the regulator requires. But the regulator does require that you're highly skilled to do your job. And the good mortgage advisors, financial advisors, develop their skills further. The really good ones will work on client acquisition, for example, prospecting skills, getting new business, marketing skills, for example, social selling, social media. The good ones work on that a lot and spend a lot of time each week on marketing, which is key. You ain't got customers, you ain't going to do any business, and you'll go bust very quickly. The good advisors develop their empathy or their emotional intelligence in order to be able to talk to customers. Remember, the future, of course, is artificial intelligence. It's all about computerization. Artificial intelligence can give advice on mortgages. It will get better at it. It can tell a client what they need, but it does it in computer language. Your job is often to interpret that, because you have software that does that anyway. So your job is to interpret that and communicate to the client the needs that they have and the recommendations that they should be taking above board. You're also able to ask questions and fact find to get soft information from people. It's that human connection. Whether you're going on face-to-face advising or you're using video, doesn't make any difference what platform you use. You're still a human to a human, and people are quite willing to pay for that even now. It may change in the future, but things always change, don't they? So think about your skill sets, develop your empathy, your communication skills, your abilities to communicate with people, to influence people, to run a business. So there's lots and lots of skills that you need to develop further. Business ethics, business running, understanding accounts, profits, all those things. Of course, if you're going to be self-employed, you need to be able to run that business. So there's a few ideas there for you on that one. Okay, remember, if you're live, just type in a few questions. Be happy to take any of those as they come in from the live audience. Next question. What have we got? Where could my career go? Well, that's a great question. Where could your career go? It can go all sorts of places, really. I've been in the financial services sector myself for almost 40 years now. Started when I was 3, by the way. That's a joke. Of course it is. But your career can take you all sorts of places. You can stay in the advisory world. So you can become a financial advisor, maybe looking at people's pensions and investments. You can become a specialist mortgage advisor, looking at development of finance, bridging, second charges, all those things if you want to go down that road. You can become a specialist in a certain sector. You might want to deal with dentists, for example, or doctors, or fire people, or whatever you want to do. You can specialize in the advice field if you want to. The later life lending market might be an area you want to get into as well. So there's plenty of other places you can go into for your mortgage advising role. If you want to get out of mortgage advising, then the world's your oyster, because you can perhaps look at working for a lender as a BDM. Most BDMs were mortgage advisors at some point beforehand. You could become a BDM. You could become a sales manager of a team of advisors. So you could become a coach, a sales manager, become a trainer if you wanted to. There's a complete lack of trainers at the moment in the sector. They're all getting old at the moment, which is quite scary. There's very few young people coming through wanting to be trainers. Problem with that, of course, is that the big employers of these large advisory sales forces, such as the Nationwides and the Santanders, they don't have those great big sales forces. So they can't afford then to have lots of managers and lots of trainers. So that's where it's gone wrong, unfortunately. So there are opportunities there as well for you. You could go into fund management. You could go into underwriting, mortgage underwriting, for example. There's plenty of opportunities there from specialist lenders. So there's other places you can go. You could look at power planning if you prefer to do that rather than advising. So there's lots and lots of different ways in which you can develop your career. That's a nice question, though. Okay, next question. What else we got then? Here we go. How can I qualify as a protection advisor? Now, we haven't mentioned about protection, and most mortgage advisors are just permissioned to give advice on mortgages. But you should and you can get permission to give advice on protection. So let's just get over to our whiteboard from earlier, where we looked at these networks and what they get involved in, because what they do, these firms, remember, these are the principal firms. That's the principal brokerage or lender, advisor firm. That's a principal network. They're called principals. They have authorization with the FCA, and they give you the CAS and the AR, etc. Now, the point there is that these particular characters give you permission to do certain things. Now, the term permission is what the FCA require before you can start giving advice in certain areas. So you'll have permission, for example, to give mortgage advice. Now, most principals will also give you permission to give protection, so mortgage advice, yeah, and they may give you permission to give protection advice. Most do. Some have permission to give later life lending advice. So different permissions, you see, for different roles in which you carry out. Now, CMAP or CF1, CF6 is perfectly adequate for you to be relatively knowledgeable on protection, but mostly mortgage protection. And a lot of advisors slip up on that because they think that CMAP is adequate knowledge on the whole protection sphere, but it's not. If you're starting to get into more complex protection areas, we're talking about life insurance, income protection insurance, critical illness insurance, business protection insurance, partnership protection insurance, all sorts of general insurances. You could be considering house insurance, buildings insurance, accident insurance. There's a myriad of insurances that you can advise your clients. Most mortgage advisors tend just to do a little bit of life cover to cover the mortgage. CMAP's good for that. But if you want to start understanding about other types of insurance, particularly dealing with small business owners, then you're wanting to get a more advanced qualification, such as the Certificate in Protection, Cert Pro, or the RO5 from the CII. And that will get you bang up to speed with the protection knowledge, and then you can start giving advice on protection. And you should do that too, especially in the current marketplace where mortgage advice is a lot lower. There's a lot of product transfers and remortgages going on, but not a lot of people buying and selling houses at the moment. So there's not a lot of traditional business. So protection advice is absolutely crucial. And besides, you're doing the right thing. So nothing wrong with that, is there? Okay, on to the next question then. Similar one. How can I advise in the later life lending market? Now, this is huge. The later life lending market is pretty much people borrowing money on security of their home if they're old. Later life, call it what you like. People usually 65 plus, they've retired. That's the marketplace. So it's any lending requirements of people in that sphere. That's really where they're coming from. It's more than just equity release. There's people borrowing repayment mortgages to the age of 80, 85. There's home reversion plans. There's later life planning towards care costs. There's a lot more to it than just an equity release mortgage. So how can you do it? Well, you've got to get yourself qualified to start with. You've got to pass an exam, obviously, and you've got to get permission. So make sure that your network or whoever you're with has these permissions already there. So in the permission side, you're looking at equity release or the later life lending market. So if you spent a load of money joining a network, for example, and you're paying the fees and you're getting yourself embedded in their software and how they operate, etc. But they've only actually got permissions for mortgage and protection. They're a mortgage network. And you want to get into equity release and maybe become a financial advisor, IFA, and they don't offer those permissions, then you're stuffed, aren't you? You've got to leave them and go and join another network, which is hassle. You don't want to do that. There's costs involved. There's contract terms to think about. There's clients. Who owns your clients? They might keep your clients, for example. So when you choose a network, find one that allows you to grow into them rather than just be restricted. I think that's a key sales point there for you as well. So back to the question then: how can you advise later life market? You need an exam. ER1 or the SARA as an exam that you might want to consider, of course. But then you'll need to be able to learn the market. It's a very different marketplace, very different indeed, different sales process, different advice process, different regulatory rules. So you'll need to be CASed again for the later life lending market, if you see where I'm coming from. Because to get the permission, you need the exam, but then you need to be CASed in that particular area. It's a great market. It's a buoyant market. There's millions of baby boomers in the position now, and there's trillions of pounds of money tied up in property, which it can be released early and given to beneficiaries, children, grandchildren, avoiding inheritance tax probably. There's all sorts of implications and issues around it. And a lot of financial advisors now are moving into the later life lending market as part of financial advice. So hugely beneficial, and to a degree recession proof as well, because the people in the later life lending market ain't working, are they, so much? Most of them are retired. So it's not, they've got a decent pension that is inflation proof. They're not feeling the pinch like all of us. So you know, it's about segmenting your marketplace. It's about diversifying your market, and that's key to the whole thing, isn't it? Okay, talk about diversifying. About this question here. What specific skills do I need to be a later life advisor? Well, you need to be able to operate with different types of clients. You need to be able to operate with the elderly generation. So you don't have to be old to do that. You can be a young person, but just with a very mature mindset and the ability to be able to communicate with a different generation to you. And there's 4 or 5 generations in the workplace at the moment, and there's a load of commentary on social media about Gen Zs and Gen Ys and Gen Xs and what they like to do and the idiosyncrasies of each one. And I'm not going to judge who's better. Crikey, I'm not going to go there. But the fact is, you have to learn how to deal with a baby boomer. And they're very different if you're a Gen Z or a Gen Y. They're very different to how you roll, you know. So you just need to be able to communicate with that audience. New software, new permissions, all sorts of skill sets involved there. Longer sales process, more human, less tech. Well, for the client, you have a lot of tech. So that's basically the skills you need there for later life advisor. But this is the big question. How can I become an IFA? An independent financial advisor, we call these dudes, or financial advisor, or wealth manager, or wealth planner, financial planner. They give themselves all sorts of different roles, but they're authorized, you see, to give advice in the full spectrum. Not only can they be able to give advice on protection, they can look at all sorts of pension savings programs, they can look at investment products, estate planning, inheritance tax planning. There's the whole gamut of advice that they can give. And the argument is, of course, if you've got loads of clients who want mortgage advice, they probably want financial advice too. And it's the same client. So, how can you become an IFA? Well, again, you need extra exams. You need the DIP FA, which is a jolly good one. We support that. Or there's the CII's RO exam. So, you need to be able to become a qualified advisor. They're tough exams. Those you have to spend a good year in studying for those. You can't just do them in a couple of weeks. You can't crash them. Couple of test papers and pass them. They work that way. No, they're hard. You have to work hard, and we help more and more people now becoming an IFA. Now, once you've got the exams, again, you've probably guessed where I'm going over here, aren't I? Because it's exactly the same thing. Once you've got the exams, you want to make sure that your company gives you permission to I call it wealth or IFA or whatever we want to call it. You have to get permission, you see. So your network hopefully has got this ability, and they will get you CASed again in that area. New software, new procedures, new sales process, new client acquisition methods, new ways of working, more knowledge required, of course, and more fees to pay probably if you're a network member. But there you see, this is the point about choosing your network carefully, isn't it? Again, the employee of a firm, it may just be a mortgage brokerage, they don't get involved. So you might need to change jobs and go and work for a financial advisor firm. There's plenty of them. There's very few financial advisors compared to the number of clients that are seeking independent financial advice. And there are a lot of clients seeking it. Yes, there's loads going on, direct, passive investments, etc., using the likes of Vanguard apps and that sort of thing. Of course, there are. But there's also a lot of high net worth clients who are willing to pay fees to an IFA for her to give tailored, bespoke advice and to act as a human being conduit. These high net worth clients are often time poor and cash rich, so they can afford the fees. So you might want to go and work for an IFA firm. Now, I say there's not many IFAs. There's about 28,000 IFAs. The last statistics show 28,000 IFAs seems a lot. No, there's about 40,000 mortgage brokers, so there's a whole lot more of them. So that's definitely a marketplace you would consider. I was an IFA for a number of years and thoroughly enjoyed it. It pays well, and it's a particularly rewarding job to do. So that's IFA. We've got one last question for you. How can I master sales and running a business? Well, we've got a session coming up, I think, shortly on how to prospect for new business, how to get the business in. I've seen many advisors, mortgage advisors, becoming mortgage advisor, thinking they can get a CMAP Go on LinkedIn. I'm fully qualified, so come and get me. Don't work like that. It seriously doesn't work. You have to work hard at prospecting and client acquisition. Unless you're joining a firm that's got customers for you, then lovely. That's happy days, isn't it? But the fact is, you have to learn how to personally market yourself, do social marketing, educating customers, seminars. You can look at social ways of doing it through social media, through Google, through YouTube. There's all sorts of ways in which you can bring in business. Referral management is a key one, but we'll talk more about that in the next session. So that's the first thing. Running a business is another aspect in itself. If you're going to be self-employed, then you'll be able to run your own business. You've got to set up your own business, a limited company, got to do some returns, you've got to do some VAT maybe if you're going to go that route, probably not. Will you want premises? Will you work from home on virtual? So there's lots of aspects of running a business as well. We're going to talk about that in a session coming up. So CMAP and qualifications and CAS and stuff is only just the start. A lot of people like to go and work for somebody and let them deal with all the running of the business and they earn a salary. And you can't argue with that concept, can you? So that's wrapped up my questions. Can have a quick look down for any questions from our illustrious audience that we have online. So I'm looking down there at the chat box. Can't see any questions coming through. Any questions? A couple of people saying that we've answered most questions they ever had, which is great. So that's good news. Okay, well, we'll wrap up now then. So quick call to action on your part then, just to let you know where you are. If you're not part of our member list, then get yourself on it. So here, for example, is how we do that. Just a quick finish off that one. This is a QR code if you want to pause the video and snap that, and that will take you to our Mortgage Advisor Development Weekly Insights, where we send you a weekly email. Once you're on our member list, we'll keep you informed of all these freebies, these goodies, these courses, these CPD programs we do, because we do a load of those things to help you as much as possible. Other than that, I'm going to say farewell and see you in a couple of days' time when we look at our next session. But other than that, this has been me, How to Succeed as a Mortgage Advisor. So let's just leave you with a tune or two so you can enjoy a bit of music. I'm going to fade myself out so you don't need me anymore on there. There you go. Got the music. We'll see you in a couple of days' time live. Unless, of course, you're watching this recorded, and you'll see me whenever you want to see me. Have a great time. Bye.